Ambassador Marcus Chen stood in the center of the great hall. Above him, the ceiling stretched higher than any cathedral on Earth. Around him, in circular rows that climbed toward the stars visible through transparent walls, sat the representatives of 47 alien civilizations. This was the Galactic Council, and today they would judge humanity. Chen's hands were steady, but his heart pounded. He had known this day would come. For 5 years, Earth had fought against the Council's restrictions. For 5 years, they had refused to hand over control of their military. For 5 years, they had pushed back against rules that seemed designed to keep humanity weak and dependent. The Archon representative rose from his seat. Vexthar was tall, nearly 3 meters, with silver skin that reflected the light like polished metal. His eyes were black and empty, showing nothing of what he thought or felt. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber without need for amplification. "Humanity stands accused," Vexthar began. "You have violated the ancient accords. You have built weapons that were forbidden. You have refused to place your military under Council supervision. You have expanded into territories that were declared protected. You have contacted species that were not ready for the stars." Chen stepped forward. "We built weapons because we discovered your plans," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "We found evidence that the Council has been stealing from our colonies. We found proof that you have been manipulating our governments. We found documents showing that you plan to eventually take complete control of Earth." He held up a data device. "I have the proof here. Banking records showing Council ships taking minerals from our mining operations. Communication intercepts proving you bribed our politicians. Strategic plans detailing how you would break human resistance over the next century." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some of the alien delegates leaned forward with interest. Others turned away. Vexthar raised one hand and silence fell immediately. "These accusations are meaningless," the Archon said. "The Council has governed this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have brought peace to 1,000 worlds. We have ended wars, stopped famines, and guided young species toward civilization. Humanity has been part of the Council for only 50 years. You are children. You understand nothing of how the galaxy truly works." "We understand that you fear us," Chen replied. "You fear what we might become. You fear that we will not follow your rules. You fear that other species will see us break free and want the same for themselves." Vexthar's expression did not change, but his next words came faster. "The vote is called. All species of the Council must now decide. Does humanity remain or does humanity leave?" One by one, the representatives voted. The avian Castrani voted for expulsion. The crystalline Lumina voted for expulsion. The reptilian Saurians voted for expulsion. On and on it went. Every single species, even those who had seemed friendly to Earth, voted the same way. When it ended, Vexthar spoke again. "Humanity is expelled from the Galactic Council. All trade agreements are ended. All defense pacts are broken. All joint ventures are dissolved. You have 1 standard year to remove yourselves from all systems administered by the Council. After that time, any human vessel found in Council space will be destroyed without warning." He paused, and for the first time something like emotion crossed his face. It might have been satisfaction. It might have been contempt. "Understand this, humans. You number 8 billion. The Council species number in the trillions. You control 100 worlds. We control 10,000. You have existed in space for 1 century. We have ruled the stars for 100 centuries. If you attempt to expand beyond your designated sector, if you threaten the order we have built, we will crush you. Your species will be scattered, your worlds will be occupied, and your culture will be erased. This is not a threat. This is a promise." Chen stood alone as the Council representatives filed out. None of them looked at him. None of them spoke. He had become invisible to them, as irrelevant as dust. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Chen used the time to prepare his report. When he finally stood before the United Earth government, he delivered Vexthar's words exactly. He showed them the recordings. He explained what had happened. President Sarah Okonkwo listened in silence. She was a tall woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. When Chen finished, she stood and walked to the window of her office. Outside, the lights of New Geneva spread across the valley. "They think they have caged us," she said quietly. "They think they have ended our future." She turned back to face the room. "They are wrong. They have freed us from their corrupt system. They have given us the motivation we needed. They have united every human in every colony behind a single purpose." She activated the communication system. Her face appeared on screens across Earth and every human world. People of Earth, she began. Today we were banished from the Galactic Council. They told us we are too dangerous. They told us we are too young. They told us to stay in our corner of space and be grateful for what they allow us to have. Her voice grew stronger. We will not accept this. We will not surrender. We will not hide. They sought to cage us, but they have only freed us from their rules. And when we return to the galactic stage, it will be on our terms. In the darkness beyond Pluto, in a secret facility that officially did not exist, military leaders gathered. Admiral James Kurova, young and ambitious, stood before a holographic star map. Project Exodus begins now, he said. We have 20 years, maybe 30 before they come for us. We use that time to build. We build ships they cannot match. We develop weapons they have forbidden. We train soldiers who will not break. And when they finally remember we exist, when they send their fleets to finish what they started today, they will find something they never expected. He looked at each person in the room. They will find that humanity does not break. Humanity strikes back. 20 years had passed since the banishment. The galaxy had moved on. The Council rarely mentioned humanity anymore. Most assumed the humans had collapsed into civil war or retreated into isolation. Some thought they might have even destroyed themselves. It would not be the first time a young species had failed without the Council's guidance. They were wrong about all of it. Admiral James Kurova floated in zero gravity, looking through the transparent dome at the construction yards. Ships stretched in every direction, hundreds of them. Each one bristled with weapons and armor. Each one carried technology that would make the Council's vessels look like toys. 20 years ago, Kurova had been a lieutenant. He had watched Ambassador Chen return from the Council with news of humanity's expulsion. He had seen the shock on people's faces. He had felt the anger, the fear, the uncertainty. But he had also felt something else: determination. Now he commanded humanity's war fleet. The title was unofficial, but everyone knew what his job really meant. He was preparing Earth for the war that would eventually come. "Admiral, the Defiant-class ships are ready for trials," said Commander Lisa Park. She was young, born after the banishment. She had grown up knowing only that humanity stood alone. Kurova nodded. "Show me." The holographic display activated. It showed a ship 300 meters long, sleek and dangerous. Where Council vessels were bulky and slow, this ship looked like a blade. "Maximum speed is twice what Council cruisers can manage," Park explained. "The hull uses composite armor that their energy weapons cannot penetrate easily. We have railguns that fire solid projectiles at incredible velocity. Their shields are not designed to stop kinetic weapons." "And the AI?" Kurova asked. Park hesitated. The use of artificial intelligence was forbidden by Council law. It was one of their oldest and strictest rules. But humanity no longer followed Council laws. "The AI integration is complete," she said. "Each ship has a semi-autonomous system that can handle navigation, targeting, and defensive maneuvers faster than any biological crew. The human captain still makes strategic decisions, but in combat, the AI handles the millisecond responses that win battles." Kurova smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Good, how many ships do we have?" 200 Defiant-class destroyers, 50 Retribution-class battlecruisers, 20 Providence-class carriers, and the shipyards in the Kuiper Belt are producing more every month. The Admiral pulled up a larger star map. It showed human space much smaller than it had been before the banishment. After the expulsion, humanity had abandoned dozens of colonies that were too close to Council territory. It had seemed like a retreat. It had actually been strategic. "We have 112 worlds now," Kurova said. "Every single one contributes to the fleet. Every single one trains soldiers. Every single one builds weapons. The Council thinks we are weak and scattered. They have no idea what we have become." Across human space, the transformation was complete. On Earth, children learned stellar navigation in school. On Mars, massive factories produced ship components day and night. On Europa, genetic research created humans adapted for deep space. On Titan, weapons testing ranges stretched across the frozen landscape. Humanity had unified in a way it never had before. The old nations of Earth still existed, but they no longer competed. The petty conflicts over territory and resources had ended. Everyone understood that survival required total cooperation. The culture had changed too. Before the banishment, many humans had opposed military expansion. They had wanted peace, wanted to focus on art and science and exploration. Those voices had not disappeared, but they had become quieter. Now everyone understood that peace required strength. Weakness invited conquest. Captain Maria Rodriguez commanded the exploration vessel Magellan. Her mission was to map systems far from Council space, to find resources in potential colony worlds. She had been at her job for 3 years without incident. That changed when her sensors detected 3 ships. Council patrol, her tactical officer reported. Saurian design. They are hailing us. Rodriguez had been expecting this. She had deliberately taken her ship close to the quarantine boundary. She wanted to see how the Council would respond. The Saurian commander appeared on her screen. He was reptilian with green scales and yellow eyes. His voice was harsh and grating. Human vessel, you are in violation of the quarantine. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. We are in unclaimed space. The quarantine applies to Council territory. This system belongs to no one. The quarantine applies wherever we say it applies, the Saurian replied. You will surrender your ship or we will take it by force. Rodriguez looked at her tactical officer. The woman nodded. The Magellan was not a warship, but it carried the new weapons anyway. Every human vessel did. I decline your offer, Rodriguez said. The Saurian's eyes widened. Then you choose death. The 3 Council ships opened fire. Energy beams lanced toward the Magellan. The human ship's shields held easily. Council weapons were designed to fight other Council ships. They were not designed to fight vessels that used technology developed in isolation for 20 years. Rodriguez did not hesitate. Fire! The Magellan's railguns spoke. Solid metal slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed. They punched through the Saurian shields as if they were paper. They tore through the hulls of all 3 ships in seconds. Targets destroyed. The tactical officer reported. Rodriguez activated the communication system. She broadcast on all frequencies, knowing that Council monitoring stations would hear every word. This is Captain Maria Rodriguez of the Earth Dominion vessel Magellan. Your quarantine is rejected. Humanity claims the right to explore and settle where we choose. Any attempt to stop us will be met with force. We are no longer the species you banished. We are stronger. We are faster. And we are done accepting your rules. This is your only warning. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. The Council convened an emergency session. Vexthar, older now but still powerful, dismissed the incident. A single lucky encounter, he said. Send the 47th Enforcement Fleet. 30 cruisers should be more than enough to remind these primitives of their place. But the Castrani delegate stood. Perhaps we should negotiate, she said. Her feathers rustled with agitation. Perhaps humanity has grown stronger than we assumed. Vexthar turned his black eyes on her. Are you afraid of primates with stolen technology? The Council has never negotiated from a position of fear. We will not start now. Admiral Kurova received the intelligence report within a day. Council forces were moving. 30 ships heading for human space. They would arrive in 3 weeks. He activated the communication system that connected him to every ship, every base, every world. Operation Broken Chain begins, he said. Show them what humanity has become. The 47th Enforcement Fleet emerged from hyperspace with confidence. Admiral Thekron of the Saurian Empire commanded 30 cruisers, each one a veteran of countless peacekeeping missions. In 10,000 years, the Council had never lost a major engagement. There was no reason to think today would be different. Sensors detect no human vessels, his tactical officer reported. The system appears empty. Thekron felt his first hint of unease. Intelligence had suggested the humans would defend this system. It was home to a mining colony and a small shipyard, yet the sensors showed nothing. Extend sensor range. Search for any anomalies. Before the officer could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Ships appeared from every direction. Not a handful, not a dozen. 200 vessels materialized simultaneously, surrounding the Council fleet in a perfect sphere. Ambush, someone shouted. Thekron stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How had they done this? Council sensors should have detected any ships lying in wait. The humans had appeared from nowhere as if they had been invisible. All ships, defensive formation. Prepare to engage. The human fleet did not wait for them to organize. Weapons fire erupted from every direction. But these were not the energy beams Thekron expected. Solid projectiles, moving at impossible speed, slammed into his ships. Shields that could stop energy weapons proved useless against physical impacts. The cruiser, Steadfast took a direct hit to its engine section. The entire rear of the ship exploded. The Vigilant lost its main power systems in the first salvo. The Righteous simply broke in half. "Return fire!" Thekron commanded. His fleet did. Energy beams lanced out toward the human vessels. Some hits connected, but the human ships moved faster than anything Thekron had ever seen. They danced between shots, accelerated, and turned with impossible agility. When beams did hit, the human shields held strong. "Their defenses are too powerful," his tactical officer said. "Our weapons are not effective." A human destroyer came at the flagship directly. It did not slow down or attempt to maneuver. It simply charged straight ahead, firing continuously. Thekron watched as the small ship destroyed 2 of his cruisers in seconds. "Focus all fire on that vessel." 10 ships concentrated their weapons on the single destroyer. The human ship's shields flared, then buckled. The hull began to glow from the heat. Thekron felt a moment of triumph. Then the destroyer exploded. But it was not destroyed by their weapons. The captain had detonated his own ship. The explosion engulfed 3 Council cruisers, destroying them instantly. "They are insane," someone whispered. The battle became a slaughter. Human ships worked in perfect coordination, as if they shared a single mind. They focused fire, broke through defenses, and moved to the next target before the Council ships could respond. The formation that Thekron had ordered never materialized. His fleet was too busy dying. 2 hours after the battle began, only Thekron's flagship and 1 other cruiser remained intact. The rest were debris. "We surrender," Thekron transmitted. "Please, we surrender." The human ship stopped firing. Space fell silent except for the crackling of damaged systems and the desperate calls of dying crews. A communication channel opened. A human face appeared on Thekron's screen. The man was older, with gray hair and cold eyes. "I am Admiral James Korova of the Earth Dominion Fleet," he said. "You came here to enforce a quarantine that we reject. You came here to destroy us. Instead, you have learned what happens when you underestimate humanity." "Please," Thekron said. "We have wounded. We need medical assistance." "You will get it," Korova replied. "We are not like the Council. We do not leave enemies to die in space when the battle is over, but you will deliver a message for me." "Anything." Korova leaned forward. "Tell your Council that the quarantine is over. Tell them that humanity claims the right to travel freely. Tell them that any further attacks will be met with the same result. Tell them that we do not seek war, but we will not avoid it either. Tell them that they created this situation when they banished us. And tell them that we are willing to negotiate peace, but only as equals." The Admiral paused. "And tell them one more thing. Tell them that this fleet was only a fraction of our strength. Tell them that if they force us to war, we will bring 5 times this number to their worlds. Tell them to choose wisely." The channel closed. The human ships began collecting survivors from the destroyed Council vessels. They treated the wounded with professional care, transferred them to the 2 surviving cruisers, and let those ships go. Thekron watched as the human fleet simply vanished, disappearing into hyperspace as suddenly as they had arrived. He looked around at the debris field that had been his proud armada. In 2 hours, the Council had lost more ships than in the previous 1,000 years combined. The 2 surviving cruisers limped back to Council space. The journey took 3 weeks. During that time, Thekron wrote his report again and again, each time thinking it sounded too impossible to believe. But the sensor logs did not lie. The Council had been defeated. When he finally returned, he found the Council already in emergency session. They had received Admiral Korova's broadcast. The human had sent his message to every Council world simultaneously. Vexthar stood before the assembly. The Archon looked older than Thekron remembered, more tired. But his voice still held authority. "This defeat is unacceptable," Vexthar said. "For 10,000 years, the Council has maintained order. No species has ever successfully challenged our authority. We cannot allow humanity to be the first." The Castrani delegate spoke up. "Perhaps we should consider their offer to negotiate. They defeated our fleet decisively. They could have killed all the survivors but chose mercy. Perhaps they truly want peace." "Peace as equals," Vexthar spat. "A species that has existed in space for barely a century, demanding to be treated as our equal. It is absurd." But the Lumina representative joined the discussion. The crystalline being's voice was like chimes. "The data suggests that humanity's technological advancement rate exceeds our own by a factor of 12. Their weapons are more effective. Their ships are faster. Their tactics are superior. Logic suggests that continued conflict may not favor the Council." Vexthar slammed his hand on the podium. Then we will build more ships. We will adapt our tactics. We will crush them with numbers if we must. The Council commands trillions of citizens. We can field 5,000 warships. 10,000, however many it takes. The Saurian delegate, still recovering from his own wounds, spoke quietly. And how many species will remain loyal after we send their children to die against human weapons? How many will wonder why we are fighting this war? How many will begin to question the Council's authority? Vexthar turned his black eyes on the Saurian. Are you suggesting we surrender to these primitives? I am suggesting we think carefully before we commit to a war we might not win. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species called for immediate retaliation. Others urged caution. A few even suggested that humanity might have legitimate grievances. Vexthar raised his hand for silence. The Council will mobilize. We will gather our forces. We will show humanity that their victory was luck, not skill. And we will remind the galaxy why the Council has ruled for 10,000 years. But in the back of the chamber, species that had never questioned the Council before began to have doubts. The Castrani delegate met secretly with the Lumina representative. They talked about humanity's message, about negotiation, about what might happen if the Council lost, and in the shadows, other species began to wonder the same thing. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Okonkwo addressed her people. They are coming, she said. The Council will not accept their defeat. They will gather their forces and attack us with everything they have. But we knew this day would come. We have prepared for it, and when their fleets arrive, they will find that humanity does not break. Admiral Kurova stood in his command center, watching reports flow in from across human space. Shipyards worked at maximum capacity. Soldiers trained for the battles ahead. Scientists developed new weapons, new defenses, new strategies. The first strike had succeeded, but the real war was just beginning. The Council Armada was the largest military force assembled in 3,000 years. 5,000 warships from 12 different species gathered at the edge of human space. The fleet stretched across millions of kilometers, a wall of metal and firepower that seemed unstoppable. Grand Admiral Vexthar himself commanded from the supercruiser Domination. He stood on the bridge looking at the tactical displays showing his vast fleet. This time there would be no surprises, no ambushes, no quick human victories. We advance in stages, he ordered. We take each human world systematically. We do not rush. We do not divide our forces. We crush them with overwhelming power. The Armada began its slow march into human territory. Their strategy was simple and brutal. They would appear at a human colony with 500 ships. They would demand surrender. If the humans refused, they would bombard the planet until resistance ended. Then they would occupy it and move to the next world. The first target was a mining colony called New Perth. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. The human defenders numbered only 20 ships. Surrender, Vexthar transmitted. You cannot win. Your people will be spared if you submit now. The human commander's response was brief. No, the battle was short and one-sided. 20 human ships could not stand against 500. But before they died, the human defenders inflicted heavy damage. They used their speed and maneuverability to strike at isolated Council ships. They fired missiles that tracked targets across vast distances. They rammed vessels when their ammunition ran out. When the battle ended, the Council had lost 42 ships. The planet's defenders were all dead, and the human colonists had evacuated. The colony itself had been destroyed by its own people. Every factory, every mine, every piece of infrastructure had been demolished. Vexthar stared at the burning world. They destroyed their own colony rather than let us take it. The planet is worthless to us now, his tactical officer said. We gained nothing, but the Council continued. They moved to the next world and the next. Each time the pattern repeated. Human defenders fought until they died. Civilians evacuated. Infrastructure was destroyed. The Council won every battle but captured nothing of value. And with each victory, the Council lost ships. Not many at each world, but the losses added up. After 3 months, the mighty Armada had lost 500 vessels. They had captured a dozen worthless planets. This is not sustainable, the Lumina delegate reported to the Council. At this rate, we will lose our entire fleet before we reach Earth. Vexthar refused to listen. We continue. Humanity cannot evacuate all their worlds. Eventually, they will have to stand and defend. That moment came at Nova Brasilia. The colony was a major industrial center, home to 40 million humans. The Council committed 1,000 ships to its capture. determined to win a decisive victory. Admiral Korova had anticipated this. He gathered 300 of his best ships at Nova Brasilia. For the first time, humanity would fight a major defensive battle. The engagement lasted 3 weeks. It was not a single battle, but a continuous series of attacks, retreats, and counterattacks. Human ships struck from every angle, using the asteroid belts and gas giants of the system to hide and ambush Council vessels. They mined the hyperspace lanes. They used fake signals to draw Council ships into traps. The Council pressed forward with sheer numbers. Slowly, inevitably, they pushed the human fleet back toward the planet. Admiral Korova knew he could not win this battle, but he was not trying to win. He was trying to make victory as expensive as possible. On the 21st day, Korova ordered the evacuation. Massive transport ships, protected by his remaining warships, lifted millions of civilians off the planet. The Council tried to stop them, but the human fleet fought with desperate courage to cover the evacuation. When the last transport escaped, Korova ordered the final phase. Every factory on Nova Brasilia detonated simultaneously. Every shipyard, every refinery, every power plant exploded. The cities burned. Within hours, the planet was uninhabitable. The Council fleet moved into orbit over a dead world. They had lost 300 ships. They had gained nothing. Savages, Vexthar whispered. They are absolute savages. But cracks were appearing in the Council alliance. The Lumina announced they were withdrawing their fleet. This war violates logical efficiency, their delegate stated. We will not sacrifice our people for a conflict with no clear victory condition. The Saurians began secret negotiations with humanity, seeking a separate peace. They had lost a third of their military and had no desire to lose more. The Castrani took a bigger step. They openly defected, bringing 50 warships to humanity's side. The Council has become what it once opposed, their delegate announced. We choose freedom over tyranny. Vexithar watched his alliance crumble. In desperation, he revealed a secret weapon the Archons had been developing for decades. The Stellar Hammer was a device that could destabilize a star, destroying entire solar systems. It was a weapon of genocide, forbidden by the Council's own ancient laws. We will use it on Earth, Vexthar announced. Humanity will surrender, or they will watch their homeworld burn. The threat reached Earth within hours. President Okonkwo, now ancient but still defiant, addressed her people one final time. They threaten to destroy our world. They think fear will make us submit. They are wrong. If Earth must burn, we will take them with us. Admiral Korova had one final card to play. For 20 years, in deepest secrecy, humanity had been developing quantum entanglement communication. Every human ship, every station, every base was now connected through technology that allowed instant communication across any distance. Activate the network, Korova ordered. Across human space, thousands of communication nodes synchronized. Information began flowing at impossible speeds. Every ship's AI connected to every other ship's AI. Sensor data, tactical information, strategic plans, all of it shared instantaneously. The human fleet became a single organism with thousands of bodies. Coordination that had been impressive before became perfect. Ships on opposite sides of the galaxy moved in synchronization. Attacks came from every direction simultaneously. The Council had never faced anything like it. Human fleets appeared where sensors said they could not be. They struck with perfect timing and vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Council's numerical advantage became meaningless when they could not coordinate their forces as effectively as the humans. In a single day, humanity launched coordinated attacks on 30 Council-held systems. The stretched-out Council forces could not respond to threats everywhere at once. They began to retreat, to consolidate, to fall back toward their core territories. Admiral Korova saw his opportunity. He gathered 300 of his fastest ships and did something no one expected. He bypassed all the Council defenses and jumped directly to Archon Prime, the Archon homeworld. The gamble succeeded. The Archon home fleet had been deployed to human space. Only orbital defenses protected the planet. Korova's ships swept aside those defenses and positioned themselves between the planet and its star. "This is Admiral Korova to Supreme Commander Vexthar," he transmitted. "We are in position to collapse your sun. Your stellar hammer is on a moon orbiting your homeworld. Disable it now or we activate our own weapon. You have 1 hour." Vexthar appeared on the screen. For the first time, the proud Archon showed emotion. Fear. You would not dare. You would kill billions. You threatened the same to Earth, Kurova replied. The difference is we are here. Our weapons are armed. Your choice is simple. Disable the stellar hammer. Agree to peace negotiations or die with your people. 1 hour. The longest hour in galactic history passed. Vexthar consulted with his advisors. He contacted the council. He ran simulations. Every option ended the same way. If he refused, the Archons would be extinct within minutes. With 58 minutes elapsed, the stellar hammer powered down. Vexthar's face reappeared on the screen. He looked broken. The weapon is disabled. We agree to negotiations, Kurova nodded. Broadcast your surrender on all council frequencies. Order all council forces to cease hostilities immediately. Do it now, Vexthar did. Across the galaxy, council ships received the order. The war was over, but Kurova was not finished. The Galactic Council as you knew it is finished. Your dictatorship ends today. We propose a new order, a true federation where all species are equal, where strength is respected but not worshipped, where young species are guided but not controlled. Any species that accepts these terms will be welcomed. Any that refuse will be left alone. He paused. The choice is yours. But understand this. Humanity will never again submit to unjust authority. We stand ready to be partners. But we will never again be subjects. The transmission ended. The human fleet held position over Archon Prime for 3 days while negotiations began. Species that had fought against humanity began reaching out. The Castrani had already joined them. Now the Saurians came, then smaller species that had always been oppressed by the Council's dominant powers. A new galaxy was being born, and humanity, the species that had been banished and dismissed, stood at the center of it. 5 years had passed since the war ended. The galaxy looked nothing like it had before. The old Galactic Council had dissolved. Its grand station orbiting Concordia Prime had been converted into a museum, a reminder of how power corrupts when concentrated in too few hands. In its place stood something new. The Stellar Commonwealth gathered representatives from 63 species. They met not in a towering chamber designed to intimidate, but in a circular hall where every delegate sat at the same level. No species ruled, no species commanded. They voted as equals, and decisions required true consensus. Earth had become the heart of this new order, but not by conquest or intimidation. Other species looked to humanity because humans had proven something vital. They had shown that innovation and courage could overcome any obstacle. They had shown that young species could contribute as much as ancient ones. They had shown that freedom and cooperation were stronger than tyranny and control. The changes went beyond politics. Human technology had revolutionized galactic civilization. The quantum network, once a military tool, now connected every Commonwealth world. Communication that once took days now happened instantly. Science advanced at unprecedented speed as researchers across dozens of species shared knowledge freely. Human medicine extended lifespans for species that had thought their biology was unchangeable. Human agriculture ended famines on worlds that had struggled to feed their people. Human engineering designed ships that traveled faster and safer than anything the old council had built. But perhaps most importantly, humanity had brought something cultural. A spirit of questioning, of pushing boundaries, of refusing to accept that things must be as they always were. Young species across the galaxy began to demand more from their governments, more from their futures. The word impossible lost much of its power. Admiral James Kurova, now promoted to Grand Admiral of the Commonwealth Defense Fleet, walked through the rebuilt orbital facilities above Earth. He was older, his hair completely gray, but his eyes remained sharp. Beside him walked an unlikely companion. Former Supreme Commander Vexthar moved slowly, his silver skin dulled with age. The Archon had been stripped of power after the war but not executed. He had been allowed to live in exile on Earth, writing his memoirs and slowly coming to terms with what had happened. I still do not fully understand, Vexthar said quietly. We had the numbers. We had the experience. We had ruled for 10,000 years. Kurova stopped at a viewing window. Outside, Earth turned slowly, beautiful and blue. You had those things. But you had lost something more important. You had lost the ability to change, to adapt, to innovate. Your council had become so focused on maintaining control that it forgot how to grow. And humanity? We were forced to change. You banished us, and in doing so, you freed us to become something new. We spent 20 years developing technologies you had forbidden. We built ships without following your regulations. We trained soldiers without your oversight. You thought you were weakening us. You were actually making us stronger." Vexithar was silent for a long moment. "I see that now, though it is a bitter lesson." Korova turned to face the old Archon. "Your species contributed to the Commonwealth fleet. Archon tactical doctrine helped us in the Battle of Threshold. Your people are not our enemies anymore." "Some of my people still see me as a traitor for accepting this," Vexthar admitted. "Some of mine see me as too forgiving for letting you live," Korova replied. "We both live with those burdens. But the future matters more than the past. That future was being tested even now. 3 months earlier, sensors at the Galactic Rim had detected something new. Ships that belonged to no known species. Technologies that seemed to defy physics. Attacks on isolated colonies that left no survivors and no clues. The Commonwealth had given them a name. The Voidborn. First contact had been a disaster. A Commonwealth exploration fleet had encountered 3 Voidborn vessels. The aliens had attacked without warning or communication. Their weapons had torn through shields that could withstand Council energy beams. Their ships had moved with impossible agility. Of the 12 Commonwealth ships, only 1 escaped to report what happened. Analysis of the limited data suggested the Voidborn were ancient, perhaps older than any species in the galaxy. They possessed technology so advanced it seemed like magic, and they appeared to view organic life as fundamentally inferior. When a Voidborn fleet destroyed a Castrani colony world, killing 2 million civilians, the Commonwealth prepared for war. Admiral Korova stood before the Commonwealth Assembly. "We face an enemy unlike any we have known," he said. "The Voidborn are more advanced than we are. Their weapons are more powerful. Their defenses are stronger. If we fight them as we fought the Council, we will lose. What do you propose?" asked the Castrani delegate. "Unity," Korova replied. "Not just political unity, but tactical unity. We combine the strengths of every species. Human innovation, Castrani sensors, Lumina energy shields, Saurian close combat tactics, even Archon battle formations. Separately, we are inferior to the Voidborn. Together, we might be their equal." The vote was unanimous. Every species committed their forces to a combined fleet. For the first time in galactic history, ships from dozens of civilizations would fight as a single unit. The Commonwealth made its stand at Threshold Station, the gateway to the Galactic Rim. If the Voidborn broke through here, they would have clear access to the populated core worlds. The combined fleet numbered 800 ships from 20 different species. When the Voidborn arrived, they brought only 200 vessels. But each one was massive, dwarfing even the largest Commonwealth battleships. Their hulls seemed to absorb light itself. Their weapons appeared to tear holes in space. The battle began badly. Voidborn weapons bypassed conventional shields. Their targeting systems locked onto ships faster than any AI could respond. In the first hour, the Commonwealth lost 100 ships, but then the integration began to work. Castrani sensors identified patterns in the Voidborn movements, predicting their attacks. Lumina engineers recalibrated shields to block the strange Voidborn weapons. Human tacticians found weaknesses in the alien formations. Saurian ships, too small for the Voidborn to target effectively, closed to point-blank range and inflicted devastating damage. The battle raged for 16 hours. Ships burned and died on both sides. But slowly the Commonwealth began to gain ground. The Voidborn ships, accustomed to easy victories against primitive species, found themselves facing coordinated resistance from enemies that adapted to their tactics in real time. When the last Voidborn vessel retreated into hyperspace, the Commonwealth fleet had lost 300 ships. But they had won. They had proven that even the Voidborn could be defeated. Admiral Korova broadcast to the entire galaxy from the bridge of his battered flagship. "The Voidborn are powerful, but they are not invincible. Today we stood together. Humans and Castrani, Lumina and Saurians, even Archons fought beside us. We proved that cooperation is stronger than individual power. This is the promise of the Commonwealth. This is the future we are building." The victory had costs. Memorials were held on 100 worlds for the crews that had died. But the battle also unified the Commonwealth in ways that peace never could. Species that had fought each other for millennia now honored their mutual dead. 2 months after the battle, Admiral Korova announced his retirement. He was 78 years old and had spent most of his adult life preparing for or fighting wars. It was time to rest. At the ceremony on Earth, representatives from every Commonwealth species came to honor him. Medals were awarded. Speeches were given. But Kurova's own words were brief. 25 years ago, I was a young lieutenant watching humanity get banished from the Galactic Council. We were told we were too dangerous, too young, too unpredictable to have a place in galactic civilization. Today I stand before representatives of 63 species, many of whom were our enemies then but are our partners now. He paused, looking out at the assembled dignitaries. We did not achieve this through conquest or intimidation. We achieved it by proving our worth through our actions, by refusing to be broken by exile, by turning our isolation into strength, by extending the hand of partnership to former enemies. The Commonwealth is not perfect. We still have conflicts. We still have disagreements. But we resolve them through dialogue, not domination. We grow through cooperation, not control. And we face the challenges of the galaxy together. He stepped back from the podium. I retire knowing that humanity's place in the cosmos is secure. Not because we are the strongest, though we are strong. Not because we are the oldest, for we are among the youngest. But because we earned respect through courage, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to freedom. The species that was once banished now helps lead a new galactic civilization. And that is the greatest victory of all. The ceremony ended. Kurova retired to a small home in the Rocky Mountains, where he wrote his memoirs and occasionally consulted for the Commonwealth military. But the galaxy moved on. The next generation took their posts. Lieutenant Sofia Kurova, the Admiral's granddaughter, joined the crew of the Commonwealth vessel Unity. The ship was a symbol of the new era, crewed by 20 different species working together seamlessly. As the Unity departed Earth orbit on its first mission to explore beyond the galactic rim, Sophia stood at a viewing port and watched her homeworld recede. She thought about her grandfather's stories, about the banishment, about the long struggle that had led to this moment. They had started as exiles. They had become warriors, and now they were explorers again, but not alone. They had partners, allies, friends from across the galaxy. From space, Earth looked small and fragile. But Sophia knew better. That small blue world had changed the galaxy not through conquest but through example. By refusing to accept unjust authority, by choosing cooperation over domination, by proving that young species had as much to offer as ancient ones, the Unity jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew toward the unknown. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, the heart of a new galactic civilization built on freedom, innovation, and mutual respect. The species that had been banished had risen, and the cosmos would never be the same.